The crystal wine glasses clinked as my brother Bruce raised his for yet another toast. "To success," he announced, his perfect white smile gleaming in our father's meticulously decorated dining room, "and to those who know how to achieve it." I'm Amy, and I was about to experience the most humiliating dinner of my life. "Speaking of success," my father Edward interjected, swirling his expensive Bordeaux, "Bruce just closed another multi-million-dollar merger. Third one this quarter." He beamed at my brother with the pride I'd never seen directed at me. I pushed my untouched salmon around the plate, already knowing where this conversation was heading. The familiar knot formed in my stomach as I felt my mother Lillian's sympathetic glance from across the table. "And what about you, Amy?" Bruce's wife Melina asked, genuine interest in her voice. "How's your documentary coming along?" Before I could answer, Bruce let out a snort. "Oh, right. The one about that small-town recycling scandal? Must be riveting stuff." Actually, I straightened my spine, gripping my fork tighter. It exposed systematic corruption in local government. It's being considered for... Considered for what? My father interrupted. "Another participation trophy? When are you going to grow up and get a real job, Amy?" "Documentary filmmaking is a real job," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I'm working on something bigger now. Something that could..." "Could what?" Bruce laughed, looking around the table for support. "Win you tens of dollars instead of just ones?" "Bruce," Melina whispered. But he was on a roll. "Remember when she wanted to be a journalist in college?" Bruce continued, addressing our father. "Thank God she didn't pursue that dead-end career." "Oh, wait." The laughter that followed felt like acid on my skin. Even my mother's weak attempt at changing the subject couldn't drown it out. "I'm investigating corporate fraud," I blurted out, desperate to be taken seriously just once. "Major companies, serious violations. People need to know the truth." The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds before my father set down his wineglass with a sharp clink. "Corporate fraud?" He leaned forward, his amusement morphing into something darker. "You mean harassing legitimate businesses with your amateur camera work and conspiracy theories?" "They're not theories when you have evidence," I shot back, immediately regretting my words as I saw his expression change. "Evidence?" Bruce's lawyer instincts kicked in. "What exactly are you implying, little sister?" "I'm not implying anything," I said, pushing my chair back. "I'm stating facts, and soon everyone else will see them too. Listen to me very carefully." My father's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet tone I remembered from childhood. "You're embarrassing yourself. More importantly, you're embarrassing this family. It's time you stopped playing at being a filmmaker and found something productive to do with your life." "Edward," my mother finally spoke up, "perhaps we should..." "No, Lillian. She needs to hear this." He turned back to me. "Your brother made partner at 30. He has a beautiful home, a respectable career, a family on the way. And what do you have? A camera and delusions of grandeur?" I stood up so quickly, my water glass toppled, spreading across the pristine white tablecloth like a slow-motion disaster. "What I have," I said, my voice shaking with rage, "is integrity, and a story that's going to make you wish you'd taken me seriously." "Sit down," my father commanded. "You're making a scene." "No, I'm making a documentary, and trust me, you'll want to watch this one." I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, ignoring my mother's calls to come back. As I reached for the handle, Bruce's voice carried from the dining room. "Always so dramatic. No wonder nobody takes her seriously." The door slammed behind me with a satisfying bang. In my car, hands trembling on the steering wheel, I pulled out my phone and dialed. "Rhea, it's me. Remember that footage I told you about? The stuff about Carlton Industries?" I took a deep breath. "I'm ready to go all in. No more playing it safe." My best friend's voice crackled through the speaker. "Are you sure? This could get messy." I thought about the laughter, the dismissal, the years of being the family disappointment. "Good," I said, starting the engine. "Messy is exactly what I'm going for." As I pulled away from my father's mansion, I caught a glimpse of my mother watching from the window. For a moment, I almost felt guilty about what I was about to do. Almost. But they wanted me to make something of myself? Fine. I'd make something they'd never forget. You should see your face right now, Rhea said, sliding a coffee across her kitchen counter to me. You've got that look. What look? The one that says you're about to do something either brilliant or stupid. She leaned forward, elbows on the granite. Maybe both. I pulled out my laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard as I pulled up my research files. Carlton Industries has been dumping toxic waste in residential areas for years. I have proof, but that's just the surface. And your father's law firm represents them? Rhea finished, understanding dawning on her face. Amy, are you sure you want to? Look at this, I interrupted, turning the screen toward her. These are internal emails from their environmental compliance department. 3 deaths in the last year alone, all covered up, all in neighborhoods where people can't afford to fight back. Rhea's journalist instincts kicked in as she scanned the documents. How did you get these? Remember Marcus from college? He works in their IT department now. He's been helping me gather evidence for months. This is dynamite, Rhea whispered. But you'll need more than just documents. You'll need faces, stories, expert testimony. That's why I called you. I took a deep breath. I need your contacts. Anyone who might be willing to go on record. Rhea was already pulling out her phone. There's someone you need to meet, Eduardo Price. He broke the story on that pharmaceutical scandal last year. If anyone knows how to handle something this big, it's him. 2 days later, I sat across from Eduardo in a quiet corner of a downtown cafe, trying not to feel intimidated by his penetrating gaze as he reviewed my footage. Your technical skills are solid, he said finally, closing my laptop. But you're playing it too safe. Where's the anger? I'm plenty angry, I replied. Then show it. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. These are real people being poisoned in their homes while your brother's law firm helps cover it up. I flinched at the mention of Bruce. I want to focus on Carlton Industries, not my family. Eduardo leaned back, studying me. Sometimes the personal angle is what makes a story unforgettable. Why are you really doing this, Amy? Because it's wrong, I said automatically. Try again. I thought about my father's dismissive laugh, Bruce's condescending smirk. Because nobody thinks I can. Better. Now tell me why the audience should care. Because while companies like Carlton Industries poison communities, they're protected by powerful law firms who make sure they never face consequences. Because my own brother... I stopped, emotion threatening to choke me. Go on. Because my own brother sits in board meetings knowing what they're doing, and he doesn't care. Because my father calls me a failure while he profits from their crimes. Because somebody needs to expose the truth, and nobody else will. Eduardo smiled for the first time. Now that's a story worth telling. He pulled out a business card. I have a contact at the EPA who's been building a case against Carlton for years. She's been looking for a platform. Call this number tomorrow. As I reached for the card, he held onto it. But understand something. Once you start down this road, there's no turning back. Your family will never forgive you. They'll have to get in line, I said, taking the card. That night, as I reviewed my footage, my phone buzzed with a text from Melina. Your mother's worried about you. Call her? I ignored it, focusing instead on the interview playing on my screen. A woman stood in her backyard, pointing to the discolored grass and dead plants. My daughter was diagnosed with leukemia last month, she was saying. The doctors can't explain it, but everyone on this street has someone sick. Everyone. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Bruce. Dad's pretty pissed about your little outburst. You should apologize before this gets worse. I thought about the woman in the video, about her daughter fighting for her life while my brother helped hide the truth, about all the times I'd swallowed my pride to keep the peace. Not anymore. I picked up my phone and called Eduardo's contact. A woman's voice answered on the second ring. This is Sarah Matthews from the Environmental Protection Agency. Eduardo said you might call. I'm working on a documentary about Carlton Industries, I said. I understand you have information that might interest me. Meet me tomorrow at noon. Bring your camera. She paused. And Amy, be careful who you trust with this. Lives are at stake. As I hung up, another text came through, this time from my mother. Please don't do anything rash, sweetheart. Too late, Mom. Way too late. I turned back to my laptop, where the woman in the video was still speaking. Someone needs to make them answer for what they've done. They will, I whispered to the screen. I promise. Sarah Matthews' office felt smaller than it looked, cramped with filing cabinets and stacks of documents that reached toward the ceiling. She closed the door behind us with a soft click. Everything I'm about to show you is public record, she said, pulling out a thick folder. But nobody's connected the dots yet. I set up my camera as she spread documents across her desk. Carlton Industries has facilities in 12 states. In each location, we've documented increased rates of rare cancers, birth defects, respiratory issues. But every time we get close to proving causation, the evidence disappears, I finished. Or the witnesses back out. Sarah's fingers traced a map marked with red dots. Your brother's firm handles most of their litigation. They're very good at what they do. My camera whirred quietly as it captured her methodically, laying out 20 years of environmental violations, settlements, and suspicious coincidences. Last month, a whistleblower came forward, Sarah continued. Former plant manager. He had documentation, samples, everything we needed. The day before his deposition. She paused, shuffling through papers. What happened? Car accident, single vehicle, no witnesses. The implications hung heavy in the air. My phone buzzed. Another text from Bruce. Dad's hosting a dinner for Carlton's CEO next week. Time to bury the hatchet. Come. I ignored it as Sarah pulled out more files. 3 hours later, I had enough footage to make any corporate lawyer nervous. As I packed up my equipment, Sarah grabbed my arm. There's something else, off the record. I set my camera down. Your father's firm. They're not just representing Carlton, they're shareholders, major ones. My stomach dropped. How major? Enough that if Carlton goes down, your family goes with them. I drove straight to Eduardo's office, my mind racing. He reviewed the footage in silence, occasionally nodding or making notes. This is good, he said finally, but we need more. Someone inside Carlton willing to talk. The last insider died in a convenient accident, I reminded him. Then we need to be smarter. He tapped his pen against his desk. That dinner your brother mentioned, Carlton's CEO will be there? Yes, but perfect. Get yourself invited. I stared at him. You want me to spy on my family? I want you to do your job. Sometimes that means getting your hands dirty. He leaned forward. Unless you're having second thoughts. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Melina. Amy, thank God you picked up. Listen, I need to tell you something about Carlton Industries. My heart raced. What about them? Not over the phone. Can you meet me? Now? 20 minutes later, I sat across from my sister-in-law at a quiet cafe. Her hands shook as she stirred her untouched coffee. Bruce doesn't know I'm here, she said quietly. He'd kill me if he knew. Knew what? I work in accounting at Carlton. Last week, I found something in the books. Payments to shell companies, millions of dollars. When I asked Bruce about it, she swallowed hard. He told me to forget I saw anything, said it was better not to know. I reached for my phone to record, but she grabbed my hand. No records, please. I'm only telling you this because... She placed a hand on her stomach. I'm pregnant, Amy, and I live less than a mile from one of their facilities. The things I've seen in those financial records, I can't stay quiet anymore. I need proof, Melina. I know. She slid a USB drive across the table. Be careful with this. People who ask too many questions about Carlton tend to disappear. Back home, I plugged in the drive with trembling fingers. Financial records, internal memos, board meeting minutes, enough to prove systematic fraud and environmental violations going back decades. My phone buzzed again. Bruce, Dad insists you come to dinner next week. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. As I typed my response, an email notification popped up from an anonymous address. The subject line made my blood run cold. Carlton Industries, you're asking the wrong questions. The message contained only an address and a time. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone. I called Rhea immediately. It could be a trap, she warned, or it could be the smoking gun we need. At least let me come with you. No, I said, thinking of the whistleblower's convenient accident. I need you to be my insurance policy. If I don't call you by 4 tomorrow, release everything we have to every major news outlet. Amy, promise me. She sighed. I promise, but please be careful. I looked at the USB drive glowing softly on my desk, then at Bruce's text about the dinner. Don't worry, I replied to him. I'll be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The address led me to an abandoned office building on the outskirts of town. My footsteps echoed through the empty lobby as I checked my phone. 2:57 p.m. Hello? My voice bounced off bare walls. I got your email. Third floor. A man's voice crackled through the old intercom system. Room 312. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back as I climbed the stairs, camera clutched to my chest. The third floor was dark, except for one lit office at the end of the hall. A man sat behind a desk, his face hidden in shadow. Close the door. I did, then positioned myself near the exit. Who are you? Someone who knows what Carlton Industries is really hiding. He leaned forward, light revealing a lined face and tired eyes. And it's much worse than toxic waste. Nah, I'm recording this conversation, I warned. He smiled grimly. Good. Someone needs to document the truth. He slid a thick envelope across the desk. These are shipping manifests from the past 5 years. Carlton isn't just dumping waste. They're importing it, from countries where disposal regulations don't exist. I flipped through the documents, my hands shaking. They're making money on both ends. Billions. Your brother's latest merger? It's with a Chinese disposal company. They're expanding the operation. My camera whirred as I photographed each page. Why are you showing me this? Because my grandson died last month. Rare form of cancer, 3 years old. His voice cracked. I've worked for Carlton for 30 years, kept their secrets, not anymore. A door slammed somewhere below us. The man stiffened. You need to leave. Now. He stood quickly. Take the back stairs. Don't trust anyone, especially... Footsteps thundered up the main stairwell. The man shoved me toward a side door. Go! I ran through the dark hallway, finding the emergency exit just as voices echoed from the office. I took the stairs 2 at a time, burst out into the alley, and didn't stop running until I reached my car. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Bruce. As I caught my breath, it rang again. Where are you? He demanded. Out working. Why? We need to talk. Meet me at Harrison's bar, now. 20 minutes later, I slid into a booth across from my brother. He looked unusually disheveled. Someone's been accessing Carlton's financial records, he said without preamble. Internal documents are missing. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I met his gaze steadily. Why would I? Cut the act, Amy. Melina confessed everything. My blood ran cold. Is she okay? She's fine. Scared, but fine. He rubbed his face. Do you have any idea what you're doing? The people you're dealing with? Do you? I pulled out my phone, played the recording from earlier. 3-year-old children dying of cancer, Bruce. Your client is importing toxic waste from overseas, and you're helping them. It's not that simple. Seems pretty simple to me. These companies provide thousands of jobs, support entire communities. If they go down, children are dying. Lower your voice, he hissed. Listen to me very carefully. There's still time to stop this. Delete your footage. Forget what you've seen, please. Or what? His expression hardened. Or I can't protect you. I don't need your protection. I need you to do the right thing. The right thing? He laughed bitterly. The right thing is protecting our family. Dad's firm would collapse if this gets out. Everything he's built was built on blood money. Bruce slammed his hand on the table. Damn it, Amy. This isn't one of your little documentaries. These people, they make problems disappear permanently. Is that a threat? It's a warning from your brother who loves you. He stood up. You have 24 hours to hand over everything you have. After that, he shook his head. Just do the right thing. As he walked away, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your source from the office building is dead. Heart attack, you're next. I called Eduardo immediately. They're closing in, I said when he answered. I need to release the documentary now. Not yet. We release this wrong, they'll bury it. Trust me. He paused. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. Bring everything you have. We'll do this right. I drove home the long way, checking constantly for tails. In my apartment, I copied all my files to multiple drives, sent one to Ria, another to a secure cloud account. Then I sat down at my computer and began editing. If anything happened to me, the world would know why. My phone buzzed one last time. Bruce again. 24 hours, Amy. Clock's ticking. I turned back to my screen, where my source's face froze in mid-sentence. Someone needs to tell the truth. Don't worry, I whispered. They will. The knock on my door came at 3 a.m. I froze in front of my editing screen, heart pounding. Amy, it's Melina. Please let me in. I checked the peephole before opening the door. My sister-in-law stood there, mascara streaked down her face. They know, she whispered, rushing inside. They know everything. Bruce has been on the phone all night. They're planning something. Slow down. I locked the door behind her. What exactly did you hear? Carlton's CEO called an emergency board meeting. Bruce said, she wrapped her arms around herself. He said they're handling the situation, permanently. Did he mention the man from the office building? They made it look like a heart attack. Amy, I'm scared. Not just for you. Her hand drifted to her stomach. What have we done? My laptop pinged with an email notification. Eduardo, don't come to the office. They're watching. Meet at alternate location. I need to get my footage somewhere safe, I said, starting to pack my equipment. Bruce will be home soon. He doesn't know I'm here. Melina grabbed my arm. There's something else. Your father. He's not just profiting from Carlton. He's on their board. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Since when? 3 years. It's why he pushed Bruce to handle their accounts. She pulled out her phone, showed me an email chain. They're all connected. The law firm, the waste disposal, the shell companies. Your father's been orchestrating everything. My hands shook as I copied the emails. Does my mother know? I don't think so. But Amy, Melina's voice dropped. The dinner tomorrow night? It's not just a dinner. They're planning to announce Bruce as Carlton's new legal director. They're bringing him inside. Another email from Eduardo popped up. Footage needs to air tomorrow, no later. I have to finish editing, I said, turning back to my computer. Let me help. Melina sat down beside me. I know where all the bodies are buried, literally. We worked through the night, piecing together interviews, documents, and financial records. As dawn broke, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Your father knows you have sensitive documents. Please come home. We can talk about this. Don't reply, Melina warned. They're trying to locate you. By noon, the documentary was ready. I sent copies to Eduardo, Ria, and 3 major news networks. Then I called Sarah at the EPA. It's happening today, I told her. Have your team ready. Be careful, she replied. 2 of my investigators were followed this morning. I turned to Melina. You should go home. It's not safe for you here. It's not safe anywhere. She stood up, wincing. But Bruce will wonder where I am. As if summoned, my phone lit up with his name. Where's my wife? His voice was cold. How should I know? Cut the act. Her car's been parked outside your building all night. This is your last chance, Amy. The dinner's in 6 hours. Bring everything you have. We can fix this. Like you fixed the whistleblower? A long pause. That wasn't... We didn't. He sighed. Just come to dinner. Please, for Mom's sake. After he hung up, Melina touched my shoulder. What are you going to do? I looked at my laptop, where the finished documentary waited to expose decades of corruption and death. Then at my phone, showing the time of tonight's family dinner. I'm going to do both. Amy, no. It's too dangerous. They'll be distracted at dinner. It's the perfect time to release everything. I started gathering my equipment. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. I'm not leaving you alone. You have to. Your baby comes first. I handed her a burner phone. I'll text you when it's done, if you don't hear from me by midnight. She hugged me fiercely. Be careful. After she left, I called Rhea. Everything's ready, she said before I could speak. 3 networks are standing by. Eduardo has his contacts at the international press primed. We just need your signal. I thought about my father's face when he realized his own daughter brought down his empire. About Bruce's reaction when his perfect world crumbled. 8:30 p.m., I said. Release everything. What about you? I looked at my reflection in the window, straightening my shoulders. I'll be having dinner with my family. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from an unknown number. Your father's study, top drawer. The proof you really need. I took a deep breath, checking the time. 5 hours until dinner. 5 hours until I destroyed everything my family had built. Time to set the table. I whispered to my reflection. Hope they're hungry for truth. The security guard at my father's gate barely glanced at me as I drove through. 8:15 p.m. 15 minutes until everything changed. My mother opened the front door before I could knock. Amy, thank God! She hugged me tightly, whispering, whatever's happening, we can fix this as a family. The dining room buzzed with conversation. Bruce stood with Carlton's CEO, Robert, their laughter echoing off the walls. My father held court at the head of the table, commanding attention as always. Ah, the prodigal daughter returns, he announced as I entered. Perfect timing. Robert was just asking about your creative pursuits. Documentaries, right? Robert's smile didn't reach his eyes. Fascinating field, though I hear your latest project might need some fact-checking. 8:22 p.m. My phone vibrated silently in my pocket. Actually, I said, accepting a glass of wine from the server, I'd love your input on some of my findings. Bruce's glass froze halfway to his lips. Amy, my father warned, perhaps this isn't the time. When is the time, Dad? After more children die? After you've buried all the evidence in your study's top drawer? The room fell silent. My father's face hardened. Excuse us, everyone. Amy, my office. Now. 8:27 p.m. I followed him down the hallway, Bruce close behind. The study door clicked shut behind us. What do you think you're doing? My father demanded. Wondering why you never told me you were on Carlton's board. I moved toward his desk. 3 years, Dad. All those times you dismissed my career, you were protecting your investment. You don't understand business. I understand right and wrong. I reached for the top drawer. Bruce grabbed my wrist. Don't. 8:30 p.m. My phone buzzed again. I smiled. Too late. The study door burst open. My mother stood there, face pale. Edward, you need to see this. All of you. We followed her to the living room, where the massive TV displayed breaking news. Exclusive. Corporate giant Carlton. Industries linked to mass environmental violations, deaths. Robert stormed in. What is this? My footage played across the screen. The whistleblower's testimony, Sarah's documents, Melina's financial records. Then my father's name appeared, followed by evidence of his direct involvement. You little fool, my father whispered. Do you have any idea what you've done? Destroyed your empire? I pulled open my phone, showing the viewer counts climbing. It's streaming everywhere. International networks are picking it up. Robert grabbed his phone. Get me legal now! But his face told me he knew it was too late. How could you? Bruce advanced on me. Our family. Our family? I laughed. You mean the family that profits from poisoning children? That family? My mother sank into a chair. watching the footage continue. Her hand covered her mouth as photographs of victims appeared, including the whistleblower's 3-year-old grandson. "Edward," she whispered, "tell me you didn't know." His silence was answer enough. The front door slammed open. FBI agents poured in, followed by EPA officials. Sarah Matthews led them, holding a warrant. "Robert Williams, Edward Howard," she announced, "you're under investigation for environmental violations, corporate fraud, and conspiracy." "You can't prove anything," Robert snarled. I pulled out the contents of my father's desk drawer, documents I'd photographed hours earlier while everyone prepared for dinner. "Actually, they can." Dad kept meticulous records. Bruce stared at me, realization dawning. "You were never here for dinner." "No." I handed the documents to Sarah. "I was here for justice." As agents began reading rights and conducting searches, my mother approached me. "I should have stopped him," she said quietly. "I saw the signs, but I chose not to look closer." "Mrs. Howard," an agent interrupted, "we'll need to ask you some questions." My father's voice cut through the chaos as they led him out. "Amy, you'll regret this. Everything I did for this family." "No, Dad." I watched as they escorted him to a waiting car. "You did it for yourself." Outside, news vans were already arriving. Eduardo stood among the reporters, giving me a subtle nod. My phone buzzed with a text from Melina. "Watching the news. Are you okay?" Before I could reply, Bruce grabbed my shoulder. "They're arresting our father, and you're texting. This will destroy us all." I shrugged off his hand. Maybe we needed destroying. As camera flashes lit up the night and reporters shouted questions, I thought about the woman from my first interview, pointing at her poisoned backyard. About the whistleblower, who died trying to expose the truth. About Melina's unborn child, who would now grow up in a cleaner world. "No," I whispered, watching my father's car drive away. We needed saving. 3 days after the arrests, Bruce showed up at my apartment unannounced. His perfect appearance had crumbled. Wrinkled shirt, stubble, dark circles under his eyes. "They're seizing everything," he said, pushing past me into the living room. "The firm's assets, Dad's accounts, even my savings. They're calling it proceeds of crime." "Sit down, Bruce. You look like you're about to fall over." He collapsed onto my couch. "Did you know they're investigating me too? 30 years of practicing law, possibly gone. Are you happy now?" "This isn't about being happy." I perched on the armchair across from him. "It's about doing what's right." "Right?" He laughed bitterly. "Melina's parents won't speak to her. Mom's being questioned daily. Dad's facing 20 years. The family's a laughingstock." My TV murmured in the background, where news channels still dissected the scandal. The documentary had gone viral, sparking investigations across multiple states. "Have you visited him?" I asked quietly. "Dad?" "Yeah." Bruce ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "He's different, broken, keeps saying he should have listened to you years ago." My phone buzzed. Eduardo calling again. Another network wanted an interview. "They're calling you a hero," Bruce said, nodding at the TV. "The brave whistleblower who exposed corporate corruption at the cost of her own family." "I didn't do it for fame." "No?" He leaned forward. "Then why?" "Really?" Before I could answer, someone knocked. I opened the door to find my mother standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said, then spotted Bruce. "Oh, good, you're both here." She sat beside Bruce, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about where we went wrong as a family." "Mom, don't!" Bruce started. "Let me finish." She turned to me. "Amy, I failed you. Every time your father dismissed your dreams, I stayed silent. Every time Bruce mocked your choices, I looked away." "You were trying to keep the peace," I said. I was being a coward." She straightened her shoulders. "But you weren't. You saw wrong being done, and you fought it, even knowing the cost." Bruce stood up abruptly. So we're celebrating the destruction of our family now? We're acknowledging the truth, Mom shot back, with unexpected steel in her voice. Your father poisoned communities for profit. You helped him hide it. I looked the other way. The only innocent person in this room is Amy. Innocent? Bruce exploded. She betrayed her own blood. No. I stood to face him. I gave you multiple chances to do the right thing. You chose Carlton over conscience every time. I chose family. Family? I grabbed my laptop, pulled up footage of the young cancer victims. Look at these families, Bruce. Look at what your choices did to them. He stared at the screen, at the faces of children fighting for their lives in hospital beds. His anger seemed to deflate. I never meant, he whispered. I didn't think. That's the problem. None of us thought about the real consequences. Mom touched his arm gently. But Amy did. My phone buzzed again. Melina this time. Doctor confirmed, it's twins. Bruce. I showed him the message. You're going to be a father. To twins. What world do you want them to grow up in? He sank back onto the couch, head in his hands. After a long moment, he looked up. The investigators, he said quietly. They've been asking about other companies, similar operations. I've been protecting them too. Bruce, Mom warned. No, she's right. He pulled out his phone. I can't change what I did, but I can stop it from happening again. He dialed a number. This is Bruce Howard. I need to speak to the FBI agent in charge of the Carlton investigation. I'm ready to talk. Mom squeezed my hand as Bruce walked to the window, speaking quietly into his phone. Your father asked to see you, she said softly. I'm not ready. I know, but when you are. She hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, Amy. I should have said that years ago. Bruce finished his call, turning back to us with tears in his eyes. They want me to come in tomorrow. Full deposition. He attempted a weak smile. Guess I finally chose the right side. Better late than never, I said. As they prepared to leave, Bruce paused at the door. That first night, at dinner, when we laughed at your documentary dreams. He swallowed hard. I'm sorry. You proved us all wrong. After they left, I checked my messages. Eduardo had texted, Major international network wants to fund your next project. Ready to change the world again? I looked at the family photo on my wall, then at the faces of Carlton's victims still frozen on my laptop screen. Yes, I typed back. There's always more truth to tell. The prison visiting room smelled of industrial cleaner and stale coffee. My father sat across from me, orange jumpsuit replacing his usual tailored suits, looking older than I remembered. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. Neither was I. He gestured at the newspaper between us. The headline read, Carlton Industries executives face criminal charges. Whistleblower documentary sparks global reform. You did what I never could, he said quietly. You chose integrity over profit. It wasn't a choice, Dad. It was the only right thing to do. He nodded slowly. Your brother's testimony. It's going to help a lot of families get justice. Bruce finally found his conscience. Better late than never. He attempted a smile. Like father, like daughter. You're both stubborn as hell once you choose a path. A guard walked past, keys jingling. Through the window, I could see Melina in the waiting room, her twins asleep in their stroller. Bruce sat beside them, reviewing legal documents, now working to help Carlton's victims instead of silencing them. I watched your documentary again last night, my father said. All of it, even the parts about me. He wiped his eyes. Those children, I told myself it wasn't my responsibility, that I was just handling the legal side. Lies are easy when they're profitable. Yes. He placed his hand on the glass between us. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, I was wrong about you, about everything. My phone vibrated. Eduardo texting about our new investigation into similar corporations. We'd already uncovered 3 more Carlton-like operations. The network loved your pitch, my father said, nodding at my phone. I saw the announcement. A whole series exposing corporate corruption? Someone has to keep telling the truth. And you're the perfect person for it. He straightened in his chair. I'm testifying next week, against everyone. No more protecting the guilty. Through the window, I saw my mother arrive, joining Bruce and Melina. She waved, and for the first time in years, her smile reached her eyes. Your mother's different now, my father observed. Stronger. You did that too. She did it herself. We all make our own choices. He nodded at the newspaper again. The families, the ones Carlton hurt, are they getting help? The settlement Bruce negotiated will fund medical care for everyone affected, and the EPA's new regulations mean it can't happen again. Good. He cleared his throat. I have something for you. I asked your mother to bring it. He slid an envelope across the table. Open it. Inside was a letter, dated 15 years ago. My teenage handwriting filled the page, my first pitch for a documentary about local pollution. You kept this? It was the first time you stood up to me, told me money wasn't everything. His voice cracked. I should have listened then. A guard approached. Time's up. My father stood, hands shaking. Amy, I know I don't have the right to ask, but will you come back? I thought about the families finally getting justice, about Bruce's transformation, about my mother's newfound strength. Yes, I said. Not for who you were, but for who you're trying to become. In the waiting room, Melina handed me one of the twins. How was it? Healing, I said, smiling as the baby grabbed my finger. For both of us. Bruce looked up from his documents. The Victim Support Fund is approved. Every family will get what they need. My mother squeezed my shoulder. Your next documentary? Starts filming next week. 3 more companies, same pattern as Carlton. Good, Bruce said firmly. Take them all down. My phone buzzed. Ria sending a link to the latest article about our investigation's impact. Corporate reform laws were changing nationwide. Ready to go? Melina asked. The twins' naming ceremony is in an hour. As we walked out, I glanced back at the visiting room. My father watched through the window, pressing his hand against the glass. I pressed mine back, briefly, before turning away. Outside, the spring air felt clean and fresh. News vans still camped nearby, hoping for comments about the ongoing investigations. But they didn't matter. What mattered was Bruce holding his daughter, finally understanding what truly needed protecting. My mother standing tall, no longer afraid to speak truth to power. Melina planning to testify about other corporate crimes she'd witnessed. And me, I had a new documentary to film, more truth to tell, more justice to fight for. Let's go, I said to my family. We've got work to do. The twins gurgled happily as we drove away from the prison, toward whatever came next. Not an ending, but a beginning. Of accountability, of healing, of change. Sometimes the hardest truth to tell is the one that costs you everything. But sometimes, in losing everything, you find what matters most.